Hey everyone, want to talk today about diversifying your training. Now, what do I mean by that exactly? So, when it comes to self-defense, there's a lot of different categories, different things that you need to be training. And this is what I want to remind you guys of. A lot of times people will focus only on one thing, kind of what's the norm, and that's what they'll train. And there's nothing wrong with taking an in-depth study, a deep dive into certain category, but you need to make sure you're training everything, right? If you're gonna do a lot of combative stuff, well, then you also need to probably equal it out and be doing some medical stuff as well. Or if you're working out a ton, well, you also need to make sure your shooting skills are there, right? And I think there's three key elements of how we can make sure that we are diversifying our training. First off is if you are having a daily or an every other day little training time within your day, you can use that to switch it up, right? Normally people just think dry fire, so they're like, oh, I'm dry firing every day, or 5 days out of the week, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever, and that's awesome. But at the same time, you need to also work in some other stuff. So maybe I dry fire first time of the week. Now the second time I'm going to do some tourniquet drills, or I'm going to do something else with combatives or fitness related, right? That's how we can make sure that we are diversifying our training. Then moving on to the second part is we can look at the classes we're taking. A lot of times, again, there's only one, aspect that people, are just passionate about, they like, or something like that, and so that's all the classes they take, right? And that's a problem. Like, yeah, we know you're passionate about that thing, you really like that thing, or maybe you just happen to be good at that, that aspect of self-defense, whatever it might be, combative, shooting, anything, right? You need to make sure that you're also doing the other stuff, right? And sometimes even within a category, you can be taking a lot of different stuff and diversify that training. If you're, a concealed carrier, you might be taking more pistol classes than rifle classes. Okay, maybe see, hey, let me take a random rifle class. Oh, okay, and that adds to your repertoire of knowledge, right? Then on the same time, you taking a bunch of combative classes, well, okay, hey, let me find a local, stop the bleed course this month, and that's what I'm going to take, or something like that. And finally, the third thing is your instructors. This I think can really help a lot more because there's two aspects for it. With an instructor, there's a lot of times whether it's a known guy, a national person, or it's a local person, that's the one that people latch onto. They're like, this is the guy. This is who I train with. It's my local guy here, or it's the guy that comes every year or twice a year, and I train with him, and that's cool. But we don't need to be taking 3 different shooting classes from that same guy, and they're all the same, right? If he's given you things to work on each time, that can still be helpful, but the problem is you're not then using your resources, which are, time and money, to go train other things that you need to be training, right? A perfect example for me is I've recently been doing a bunch of different training with a couple of different instructors, companies, right? And the cool thing is that each of those different ones, I could have trained a multitude of different things within them, and that would have diversified my training. Or like I did is I trained with multiple different instructors in different companies, and that diversified my training. So not too long ago, I did some training with Orion Training Group, and I was able to do some CQB training with them. They also happened to do some medical classes. So if I wanted to train with them again, I could have done a medical class, and there it is. I didn't necessarily change instructors, or I didn't change companies. The instructors would have potentially changed, but the training category, the training that I wanted to train would have been different. Something more tactics compared to something medical, right? Then I've trained with Sentinel Concept, Steve Fisher, a couple of times this year, but I've done 2 different classes. I did a low light and I did a red dot pistol. So within still the same instructor, the same category, shooting, right? But different aspects of it. That is something that I wanted to learn more of. So there's another way that I can diversify my training. Finally, I did some awesome training with Rogue Methods, Raul Martinez, doing some combative stuff, the close contact gunfighter, right? Within that, he's got some other stuff as well that I could have trained. And so that's what we can see, that we can do some different training diversification, right guys? There's, whether it's within the same, category, we can do some different stuff. With the same instructor or company, we can still do some different categories. And going back, the different classes, the different little training minutes or whatnot that we have in our day, as long as we're switching it up and we're making sure that, sure, there's going to be something we like a little bit more because we've had more time training it, or we just have more reps, or we like it a little bit more and it comes to us maybe naturally. But we need to make sure that we are trying to get that even rise and trying to train everything across the board at the same time, because that in the end is what's truly going to better your reactive defense.